Hello dear chess friends, my name is Artem Smirnov, I am an international chess master and today I'd like to review the games of the third round from the World Chess Olympiad. In the match between France and Algeria, France has defeated Algeria as expected. Poland has won the match against Portugal, but the match between the United States of America and Netherlands was really exciting. On the first board, it was a draw between Anish Giri and Fabiano Caruana, but on the second board, the game was really exciting, and now we are going to look at it. So Wesley So played with white against Erwin Lamy. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, the Rai Lopez, the bird variation with d6. This position, this line, looks better for white. Seems that white has advantage, especially after knight d7. It is similar to the King's Indian, but in this case the white squared bishops are exchanged and it looks like in white's favor. Black pushes the pawns on the king side and hopes to attack the white king. And here Wesley So opted for c5. It was possible to play b4, castles, and c5 here. It looks like this position is also better for white, but he decided to sacrifice a pawn. It's possible to do the c5 sacrifice also in the King's Indian in some lines, so it's rather typical. Knight c5, bishop takes c5, d takes, and queen b3. Of course, white has fine compensation for the sacrifice here in this position. The c pawns are doubled, and also the black king is rather weak here. b6, d6, the second pawn sacrifice. It wasn't necessary again after knight c4, castle c4, and a5. White seems slightly better here, but d6 is a very decisive way to play this position. Knight c4, rook d1, and knight f8 played Lamy. It's not the best move here. It would be better to play h5. Knight b5, king h7, rook d5, a6, and in this line, knight g7, white gets the e5 pawn, but in general this position looks close to equality. So knight f8 was a mistake here. Rook d5, knight e6, knight takes on e5, c4, queen f3. This position is better for white. The compensation for the pawn is more than enough. The black king is pretty unsafe here. Check, knight d5. Queen c5 was necessary to exchange the queens because white has a lot of threats here. Rook f6, knight e7, so it's the only move. Queen c5, rook c6, but white takes the c7 pawn. Now the material is equal, and also white could have played rook c1, attacking the c4 pawn and win this pawn. In this case, this position would be easily winning for white because white grabs the c4 pawn, and now all white's pieces are more active than the black pieces, and white is a pawn up. That's why this endgame would be winning for white. So h4 was played in the game. White is still winning here, but h4 is a tricky way to win this game. h5, king takes, knight f6, white wins an exchange, but it seems like black has rather dangerous counterplay on the king side after g4. Nevertheless, Wesley So finds the best defense here. Rook h1, king g1 check, king f1, and this position is still winning for white. although it doesn't seem so, because it looks like, well, if black plays knight c2, takes on d3 and knight e3, now black attacks the g2 pawn, but white has a very precise move here, e5, threatening to push the pawn, and after knight g2 e6, king f6, white takes the h5 pawn, king e4, and now white stops all these pawns, and the knight is pinned on g2. The knight has to defend the f4 pawn, and this is winning for white. h4 was played in the game, king d1, a5, a4, rook d6, and now white pushes the e5 pawn, rook d2, rook e1, and after h3, king h2, white plays e6, and black has no defense here. Knight takes, rook takes, and black resigns here, because if black takes the h3 pawn, white can play rook h6 check, king g2, after king g1, rook a4, g2, rook a6, and black is in Zugzwang here. That's why black loses. Okay, let's go to the next game. Shackland Van Forest. The game on the third board was a draw between Vanveli and Nakamura, and it seemed that this game could be also drawish between Samuel Shackland and Jordan Van Forest. After queen f8, black is okay here, so black equalized. Bishop c1 wasn't precise because instead of rook c8, black could have played e5 here. e5, d takes e5, bishop takes e5, and after rook c5, rook d8, white has some troubles. For example, bishop d2, knight c4, and black attacks the rook on c5. It seems that the square for the rook on c5 is not very safe. But in the game it was rook c8, e4 takes, queen c8, takes, e5, bishop e7, a4. This endgame is slightly better for white due to the bishop pair, but it's rather difficult to win this position because the black defense is rather solid here. There is no space for the breakthrough. In the game it was bishop b4, king f3, knight b6, white defends the pawn, and black eagerly played bishop c3, attacking the d4 pawn, and then bishop d2. And bishop b2 is a crucial mistake here. Of course, well, it's in black favor to exchange the bishops in general, but here after bishop takes, knight c4 check, king e2, knight b2, bishop b3, the knight on b2 is trapped. There are no free squares for the knight. That's why white easily wins this position. It was b6. If black plays knight c4, the pawn endgame is totally hopeless for black, because white takes the c4 pawn, and then white is a pawn up into the pawn endgame, and you know this is almost always winning. After b6, king d2, h6, king c3, black loses the knight, and now black resigns. In the match between China and Peru, China won 3-1. The exciting game was on the first board. Between Cordova and Ding Liren, knight f3, g6, d4, knight f6. So it was King's Indian with d5 against g3, so c6, knight bd2, a5. a5 is a typical move in this position. a4, bishop b2, knight e4. And here it would be better for white to take the a4 pawn with a slightly better position here. It seems that it's close to equality, but still slightly better for white. Cordova took the knight, d takes, knight e1, c5 is a good move, knight c2, knight c6. Black attacks the d4 pawn, e3, f5. Bishop c3, queen c7, knight f3, c takes d4, knight b5 with double attack, and now white takes the d4 pawn. And here Dean Lorraine found a tactical trick. He took the pawn on d4. White could have played knight d4. The idea was that after rook d8, black is going to play e5 and then take the knight on d4. This pin is pretty unpleasant here for white. Though white can take the pawn on a4, b takes a4, e5, knight c6, a tactical strike, and with the idea to take the black queen, knight b8, rook a1, rook a1, rook b8, bishop f1, and this position is close to equality. In the game it was bishop d4, rook d8, bishop b6. It is a rather sophisticated idea to sacrifice the queen, rook d8, rook d8, rook d1, rook d1. But this position is much better for black. Black is almost winning. So Dean could have played rook a6, bishop c7, queen a8, rook d8, king f7, and now black has decisive advantage. Bishop e6 wasn't a serious mistake. Black is also much better here. Knight e7, king f7, f3, rook a6. It's a brilliant exchange. Sacrifice, knight takes, b takes, c5, e3. And in spite of the equal material, almost equal, because black has a queen against two rooks, this position is winning for black. The attack is decisive. f4, bishop f1, g5. The idea is to play g4 here. Rook d3 takes, h3, queen f4, and white has no defense. Bishop h3 checkmates white. White resigned because after king h3, queen h4, and queen h2 with a checkmate. Azerbaijan has crashed Slovenia. I'd like to observe the game Mamedov Skoberne. It was the French defense with e5 on the third move, castles rook c8, d takes c5, knight g6. Black attacks the e5 pawn, but white supports the c5 pawn. Here it's a typical idea. White would have initiative on the queen side due to the pawns. Queen c7, knight d4, here queen e5, and knight b3. Here black decided to play f5. It doesn't look like a good positional move, but nevertheless it seems that this position is better for white, and black has sufficient problems. For example, after bishop f6, queen d2, queen b8, white plays knight b5, f4, preventing e5, b6, rook d1, e5, f5, attacking the knight. The white knight goes to d6, e5, rook b1, and all the white pieces are very active here. it seems that this position is better for white. After f5, white played b5, attacking the knight, and the white initiative increases. c4, the bishop goes to b2 or a3 after bishop c1, takes, bishop takes on c5, knight to 3, taking the queen, queen d6, knight c5, queen c5, queen d7, queen c4, and after bishop a3, the black rook has no moves here. White is threatening to play rook c1 to attack the queen and to win the rook on c8, and black is hopeless here. So it followed rook c7, queen d2, queen d5, white took on d5 and took on f8. Here black resigned because white is an exchange up and white is totally winning. England defeated Brazil, Israel crashed Iceland. Well, the interesting match was against Ukraine and Romania. The decisive game happened on the fourth board between Anton Korbov and Trila Jan Christian. Knight to 3d5, g3, g6. Now it is the Reti opening. Queen a4 is an interesting move here. Castles d4. This opening transposes to the King's Indian with d5 and c6, a6, c5. Black was going to play b5 or d takes and then b5. I think b5 was the main idea after e6, so white decided to play c5 here and to prevent this idea. Knight e4, bishop e4, and now black finds an interesting option, e5. White should have taken the knight on e4, and after e takes f4, the knight goes to d6. In this case, the position would be close to equality, but white played knight e5 here. After knight takes on c5, black is better. Queen d1, knight e6, knight d7, bishop d7, bishop e5. But after the bishop's exchange, the black pawn structure gives black advantage here. So black is better because of the doubled pawns on the e file. Queen c7, black attacks the e5 pawn, and after queen b6, black grabs the pawn on b2. Queen d3, queen b4, rook b1, queen e7, e4. It's impossible to take the rook on b7 because of knight c5 with double attack. e4, knight c5, queen e3. Instead of knight c5, d4 would be even stronger. Knight e4, c5, knight b6, and bishop b5 here. White attacks the rook, but black attacks the queen and the white rook on f1. In this case, black would be much better. Knight c5 was in the game, queen e3, black takes on e4, knight e4, and knight e4 proved to be a mistake here. It would be better to play rook fd1, bishop f5, and rook d6. And only here, after knight e6, white takes the e4 pawn with equality. The problem of the knight e4 is that black takes on e4 and bishop h3, attacking the rook, and still black is a pawn up here, and white has no initiative. After bishop g2, bishop e6, a4 was played, rook d8, h4 rook d7, h5 rook d8. Now black controls the d file, bishop e4, trying to create some kind of threats on the king side, but here rook e4 wins the game immediately. The idea is that after queen e4, black plays rook d2 check, king g1, queen c5 check, king h1, bishop d5, and black wins the queen. So white resigned after rook e4 here. The match between Armenia and Turkey wasn't an easy one. Armenia has won with a minimum advantage here due to the game Melkuman Khan Emre on the third board. I'd like to observe this game. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, bishop b4, the Rogozin defense, bishop g5, h6, queen d3. It's not the main line here. c5 takes, e takes, bishop takes. After all these exchanges, this endgame is close to equality. White plays castle long, bishop e6, and bishop e6 wasn't the best option in this position. To my mind, after this castle, rook d5, bishop e6, rook e5, rook c8, black is even slightly better here, because black wins the c5 pawn and black has better pawn structure, and well, all these pawns are weak in the white's camp. That's why black has more than enough compensation here. So it was bishop e6 in the game, e4, d takes, bishop takes on a6, b takes, knight d4. Now white gets a rather pleasant endgame here, rook c8 is c6. Because of this e6 pawn, which seems rather annoying here for black, bishop a6, rook e1, black castles, knight f5, king h7, rook d6, rook e8, knight d4. The white's play wasn't the best here, and now black could have played rook e5, rook d7, rook c5, attacking the pawn on c3, and the idea is to play bishop d5 and win the c6 pawn. After bishop c6, this position is equal. But in the game it was rook c7, which is mistaken. King d2, rook e5, rook a1, rook b1. And now again, it was a good moment for black to equalize finally with the move a5, rook d7, g5, c7, a4, black plays a4 here, g4, a3, distracting the white rook, and after rook c7, black takes rook the c7 pawn, and now this position is equal. In the game it was rook b8. It is a decisive mistake. White pushes the c7 pawn and plays rook c6. Now white is winning. After this exchange, white takes the central pawn on e4, king d4. Also white takes the a6 pawn, and the pawn on c7 costs black the bishop. So black resigned here. The match between one of the favorites, Russia, and the second Georgian team wasn't a daily for the Russian team. It was won due to the game of Vladimir Kravnik, who had black against Beradze Irakli. But we'll start with a drawish game, Nepomнящий Sanikidze. e4, e6. It was French, the Wiener variation. knight e7, h4. There is an option to play here queen g4. It is the sharpest way to play this position, but Jan played h4, queen c7, h5. It's also a rather aggressive way. Knight c6, a4, c takes, knight b4. Black attacks the c2 pawn. King d2. King d2 looks like a very surprising move here, but nevertheless it's a good one. White defends the c2 pawn with a king, and there is nothing black can do. So there is no real attack here for black. After the castle, white plays bishop a3, attacking the knight, knight c6, bishop d6, and bishop d3. 5, knight c3, knight a5, knight h4, bishop d7, f4. Now it's clear that white has rather strong initiative on the king side. Bishop e7, queen e7, queen c2 was played in the game. Queen g4 is an alternative here, knight b3, king e3, and this position is better for white. But queen c2 seems also interesting here. g5 was in the game. It looks like a suicide here, because now the black king is extremely weak here. Rook g1, rook b8, rook g4, and well, white opens the g file, and the black king gets under attack. It seems that black is almost lost in this position. b5, king e3 is a precise move. B takes a4. Black tells that there is some counterplay on the b file, knight b3, knight c4, but well, the white's attack is much more terrific here. F takes g5, bishop b5. Now the knight f4 is winning for white. For example, bishop d3, g takes h6, check, king h8, queen d3, knight c4, check, king f3. And in this position, white simply takes the e6 pawn and now plays king g2. Here, this is winning for white because queen f4 is impossible. White checkmates after king h8, queen g7. So otherwise, if black doesn't take the rook on f4, white has decisive material advantage here and white is winning. In the game it was bishop b5 and it is also good, rook b5, but now it was the right moment to play knight f4 again. After knight c4 check, king f3, rook b2, queen g6 check, king f8, king g3. Black is hopeless here. Knight e6 is threatening, black has no defense. Rook a4 was played in the game and it was a serious mistake. H takes g5, knight h4. Again, knight f4 was the last chance here. Rook takes, queen g6, and again this is better for white, but now after knight h4, king f8, h6, black is better here. Black has material advantage, an extra exchange, and now queen b6 would be a good option. And in this position black is playing for a win. Though in the game was played rook b5, queen takes, queen c3, and after all these exchanges the rook endgame is drawish. Okay, let's go to the game Biradze-Kramnik. It was the Slav defense, anti-Miran variation with b3, white played bishop d3, which is well known like not the best option here for white. Usually white plays bishop e2. The idea is that after rook e8 and castles, black plays e5 here, and the bishop on d3 gets under attack. After d takes e5, knight e5, the knight attacks the bishop on d3. So usually white plays here bishop e2. Bishop d3 was some kind of a surprise here. Knight e2, e5. Of course e5 is a rather natural move. D takes e5, knight takes e5. Knight takes, bishop takes. Castles knight g4. Knight g4 is a very aggressive move and it's a good one. Knight f4 was a serious mistake here. The best chance for white is bishop h7 check and knight g3. White sacrifice the bishop, but the compensation is these 3 pawns for the piece, and the position is unclear after rook e7. In the game it was knight f4, g5, a rather aggressive approach. d4 could be even stronger here. Bishop h7, king h8, h3, d takes e3, takes, and now black is definitely better. After g5 black is better too. h3, g takes, e takes, queen takes, h takes, bishop takes. Rook e1. Kramnik decided to play h5. This is a good move. It was also possible to play d4 or rook e5. Black is better everywhere. h5, c takes, queen c5, rook e5, queen c3. Looks like a decisive mistake here. Rook e5 was necessary, exchanging the rooks. Rook f1, king g7, and black is only slightly better here. Of course black has an extra pawn and winning chances, but still white can defend. Queen c3, rook g5. After rook g5 black combines threats to the white's king on the g file, and the idea to push the d pawn, to push the passed pawn on the d file, and white has no defense. Queen f6 is the right move. Kramnik avoids the exchange of the queens. Rook e4, d3, queen e3, rook d5, d2, bishop f5, and white resigns here. And the last game we're going to review today is Hansen Anand. Vishwanathan Anand helped his team to win the match against Canada. India has crashed Canada, giving only 1 draw. And it wasn't on the first board. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. The Raya Lopez with g6. Anand decides to play not the main line, but still rather venomous. a6, bishop g7. Well, here it seems that white has advantage in the center, but black gets counterplay after knight b4. The idea is to prepare c5 and to attack the d4 pawn. a3, knight c6, d5, knight d4. Now black is totally fine here. I think that it's possible to improve the white's play from the 8th move. d5, knight d4, takes, knight d5, queen d3, knight b6, and rook d1. Rook d1 is mistaken here. Black has better development, although the white's pawn structure is better here. Well, the bishop on g7 is really strong here, and the bishop on c1 is undeveloped. That's why it's white who has to equalize here, and knight e3 served that goal well. Rook c8, knight g4, knight c4, bishop h6, exchanging the bishops. Knight b2, queen d2, knight c4, bishop takes, rook takes, bishop takes, king takes, and rook ac1. Here, for the sacrificed pawn, white has enough compensation, and it would be the best option for white here. Rook d1 looks like a logical move, but nevertheless it's not the best. Rook c8, knight g3, white defends the e4 pawn, and now white is threatening to take the pawn on d6, but of course black has knight c4 here, and rook b1 followed, h5, f3, h4 is threatening, queen b6, king h1, queen f6, bishop c1, rook d5. Instead of bishop f4, bishop d2 would be better here, although after rook d5 black has a serious advantage in this position. Bishop f4, queen f6, bishop c1, rook d5, rook e5, and now black is almost winning. And now white resigned. In spite of the equal material, there is no defense from the bishop d4 move. The knight is pinned here, and black wins this knight and wins the game. Okay, thank you. That's all for today. Bye.